Today I'm going to demonstrate a third grade word problem with fractions using two different models, the set model and linear model. Before we get into the problem, I wanted to talk about the definition of a fraction, which is the act of breaking, and fractions are parts of wholes and involve breaking a whole into equal parts. A unit fraction is a quantity formed by one part of a whole that's been divided into equal parts. So for my word problem, I'm going to use the set model with counters, and the word problem says, Lauren is baking cookies for her class. There are 6 vanilla cupcakes and 12 chocolate, but only 2/3 of the cupcakes were eaten. What is 2/3 of the 18 cupcakes? So if you'll notice, I have 18 counters randomly spread out on this page because the whole is 18 cupcakes. If we're trying to find 2/3 of the 18 cupcakes, we need to figure out how many groups can we make. So I'm going to look at my denominator and point out that it is a 3, meaning that we are going to have 3 groups in order to get our 2/3 of 18. So I know that there are 3 groups of 6 in 18, so I'm going to make 3 groups of 6 on my page. So we have the first group, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to make a second group, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the last group, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So again, we have our 3 groups represented because there was a 3 in the denominator. So we have 6 in each of the groups. I'm going to circle the entire thing to represent the whole, which is again 18. Oops. My counters moved around a little bit. Okay, so we have the whole, which is 18, and then we have our individual groups of 6 within the whole, making 3 groups. So we have our whole, we have our 3 groups of 6, and I'm going to label each group 1/3 because it is representing 1/3 of the total. And I want to point out, it's a common misconception that kids might label this 1/3, 2/3, and 3/3, but that would be false because we're just focusing on one single group. So if this were labeled 2/3 and I covered this up, that wouldn't represent 2/3, it only represents 1/3. So that's just one thing to point out. Okay, so we're looking for 2/3 of the whole, which is 18. So I'm going to flip over 2 groups to represent 2/3. I'm going to flip over my counters because remember we're flipping over 2 groups of 3. So we have 2 groups flipped over of the 3. And when you count the counters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, there are 12 counters that are flipped over, which gives us our answer, 12. So what is 2/3 of the 18 cupcakes? The answer is 12. Now I'm going to use the same problem but with the linear model by using graph paper. This again is a 3rd grade word problem. And the problem states, Lauren is baking cookies for her class. There are 6 vanilla cupcakes and 12 chocolate, but only 2/3 of the cupcakes were eaten. What is 2/3 of the 18 cupcakes? So first I have my line already drawn out, but I don't have anything labeled. So I know that on the far left-hand side, it always starts with a 0. And I counted 18 squares in between until I got to this line, which is 18. So we have our 0 and our 18. I'm going to go through and I'm going to add little tick marks to represent each number in between. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 is the last one. So, since I'm looking for 2/3, I'm going to need to separate my line into 3 groups of 6. Because again, we got the 3 from the denominator, showing us that we're going to need 3 groups on this number line. And since we know that there are 3 groups of 6 and 18, we're going to count and add on the number line to 6 and add, and I'm going to extend the tick mark on that 6th one. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to write a number 6, and I'm going to extend that tick mark. We're going to count again to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to write 12 because that's a 12 tick mark, and I'm going to extend it. And then we have the remaining 6 leading us to 18. So there is a common misconception that you're going to extend 3 tick marks instead of 3 groups, but that's false. So we just want to make sure we can see 3 groups on the number line instead of making 3 extended tick marks. Now that I have my line separated into 3 groups, I'm going to write the fraction underneath the tick marks that I extended. So we know that this is 1/3. Then we count to 12, which would be 2/3 of 18. And then 18, which is also 3/3. But we're wanting just all the way up until 2/3. So I'm going to grab my highlighter and I'm going to darken the line to 2/3. So we're just darkening the line all the way to 2/3 to show and represent that this highlighted area is 2/3 of 18.